Greetings everyone. My name is Kayla Quarles and I am the Training Coordinator at IDEA Data and Research Office. Today's presentation covers the special education data reporting requirements of Cycles 2, 4, and 7 for the school-age student within the fiscal year. Cycle 2 is a one-day snapshot of October 1 in which finance must report subpopulations. Special education is one of them, along with special education employees. Cycle 4 includes personnel and active students or child count on December 1. Cycle 7 covers referral tracking, exits for students ages 14 through 21, CEIS, and discipline. User guides and data dictionaries are also available for download from the website or from the support tab in MySped. The slide above gives you those URLs that you can follow. From a calendar perspective, Cycle 2 is pulled for student enrollment data reporting. It is pulled from October 1st and due by October 15th of the fiscal year. Cycle 4, personnel reporting and child count, is reported for December 1 and due by December 15th. Note, the review period for Cycle 4 is during the month of January. Cycle 7 information is submitted by June 15th and is available for reviewing during the month of September. Be sure to keep primary disability and alternate assessment up to date as they are pulled for every cycle. The data is updated nightly in Triand. Here are things that must take place during the Cycle 2 submission. All students with an active IEP must be in the school age module by October 1 for the official special education subpopulation count. All students with a grade level in demographics of EE, SM, SS must have their assigned grade in the school age module updated and verified. The assigned grade is used for federal reporting, graduation cohort, and grade level for statewide testing. Remember to keep primary disability and alternate assessment up to date at all times as they are pulled in every cycle in which student data is pulled. And make sure that you make all private providers inactive. The use of non-graded codes. There are a few reasons to use non-graded grade level codes. 1 are for seniors who are trying to stay until they are 21. 2, for self-contained students' grade level is not a part of the building where the student's classroom is located. For example, a 5th grade student who is in a self-contained classroom which is located at the K-4 elementary building. Since that building is a K-4 building, the grade 5 student cannot be entered into the SMS. The grade level is entered as SM in the SMS, and the assigned grade level, being 5th, is listed in the SA module. This section of the presentation will cover MySped review data for Cycle 4. Cycle 4 includes all of your special education employees. In addition, it includes all active special education students, which is often referred to as child count. You have until December 15th to enter all of your Cycle 4 data in eSchool prior to the cycle pull. The review period for the data you have submitted is the month of January in the MySped resource application. These are the fields that are pulled for employees in Cycle 4. Full legal name, first, middle, and last. Social Security number. Title code, in which each code must be reported. Building code. If there is more than one building for the same title code, please select the primary building. 88,000 is for contract staff only. Grade level, which represents only K through 12. Early childhood students must be reported separately. License number with teacher endorsement codes. Certification status. Classroom aid. It applies to the teacher and speech pathology title codes only. And lastly, to provide the FTE, which cannot be more than 1. Please make sure all of these areas of data are collected for Cycle 4. This chart is also in the Employee Data Dictionary that can be downloaded from our website. Remember that if someone has more than one of the 59 title code that describes their job responsibilities, the FTE, also known as full-time equivalency, has to be divided between the codes so that their FTE is equal to or less than 1. For each title code, they would have another line completed in the special education screen under the District Defined tab in the employee's staff registration record in eSchool. In MySped, each title code or job responsibility will be reported as a separate record. The important thing is the time they spend is each title code must be divided up and cannot be more than 1 or 100% when their time is added together. We will now discuss the employee certification status. If a teacher is working towards certification as a special education teacher, they have up to 3 years to complete that process, called an ALP. The teacher will then be marked A, B, or C depending upon where they are on the process. In the license field, the letters ALP are entered along with the license the person is working towards. D is a fully certified teacher or speech therapist. Teachers receive their license from ADE, while SLPs receive their license from the Arkansas Board of Examiners of Speech Language Pathologists and Audiologists. E includes all of the following: paras that have completed the core module for certification, special ed supervisors, early childhood coordinators, and all special education administrators, including those with the Title Code 2 who possess a license for their title code. F includes all contract personnel who are licensed, including SLPs, OTs, PTs, and even special ed teachers, all of who are not employed by the district. G is all of these in E who are not certified or who do not have a license. H would be any of the aides, assistants of contract staff, or anyone not employed by the district who do not hold a license or certification. SLPs and psych examiners have a process coming out of college before they are licensed and fully certified. For the SLP, it's called a CFY. They would be coded I, and CFY would be coded into the license field. If you have any questions about what certification status you should enter for an employee, check with your LEA supervisor, also known as your monitor, for correct coding. This chart is also located in the Employee User Guide and Data Dictionary. It is based off of a 40-hour work week. So if your district has a different work week, you will need to do the math accordingly to determine the employee's FTE. Remember that it can never be greater than 100%. If an employee has 2 different title codes they work under, such as someone who supervises some of the time but also has some direct instruction with students, the person's FTE has to be divided accordingly. You also need to be aware of those unusual situations, such as a person who's worked a full day as a resource teacher and then maybe 5 hours of after school homebound instruction. That person's work week is actually 45 hours, and the FTE has to be divided between resource teacher and homebound teacher accordingly. Your district may also share a contract person with other districts or programs. Once the cycle is submitted and that person's FTE is compiled, it also can't be greater than 1. So, in order to accurately gather the FTE of a contract staff person, ask them 2 questions. The first is, how many hours a week do you work with your children or students? And 2, how many hours a week do you work with children and students in my program? Divide the second number by the first, and you have their FTE in your program or district. To qualify for the LEA supervisor reimbursement, you must have one of the following endorsement codes in the endorsement licensure field of the special education module in eSchool. In listing the special education endorsement codes, please make sure that they are separated by periods. All districts are required to report who serves as their LEA supervisor and the FTE in which they serve the district. An LEA supervisor who has the appropriate licensure endorsement is to be coded as O1 title supervisor if the administration endorsement is held with the certification status of E, non-teacher certified. An LEA supervisor who does not have the required endorsement code should also be coded as O1 title supervisor code if the administrator endorsement is held with the certification of F, non-teacher, not certified. Caseload counts are determined based on what you have entered into the child's screen for their teacher and SLP. Remember that you have to enter the folder holder in the teacher field. Also remember the linear progression of eSchool so that a person, including contract staff, paras, OTs, and PTs, must first have a record of staff information before you can complete the DDT or the Special Education Employee module. If a child receives speech services only, the SLP is entered in both the teacher and therapist field. This is a screen capture of the School Age module. Note the fields for the teacher and the speech therapist. Remember too that unless an entry date has been placed in the entry withdrawal dialog box, those students will not pull as a part of your cycle reporting. This is why it's very important that you complete the entry withdrawal assignment by simply entering an entry date before you address any of the fields on the School Age student screen. An employee may be made inactive in the building in the registration center. However, the teacher field and the therapist field are both pulled from this screen. Making an employee inactive in any building will not keep them from being pulled on the student school age screen. Child count is a one-day snapshot of December 1st. Report all children with an active IEP who were found eligible for services on or before December 1. Students with an entry date after December 1 will not be included in the count. Temporarily placed students are not a part of the actual count, for they have not been found eligible for IDEA services. Withdraw all children dismissed before December 1. Use the exit code with SA in the parentheses. If they receive services on December 1, then the exit is December 2nd. If they receive services on November 30th and were no longer in the district on December 1, the exit date is November 30th. Be sure to pay attention to Thanksgiving holidays and how they may affect your December 1 count. The following student data is pulled for Cycle 4 from demographics: student state ID, student's name, social security number, gender, birth date, ethnicity codes, federal race code, ELL, building, and grade level. Please make sure that all of this information is in eSchool so that it may be pulled during the Cycle 4 submission. The following information is pulled from the School Age student screen: entry date, assigned grade level, disability, educational placement, temporary placement, alternate portfolio or assessment, charter school, school choice, special ed teacher, and speech therapist. All data is collected from the School Age student screen for Cycle 4 submission. With the change to DLM as the alternate assessment, there are now 4 allowable codes. They are as follows: NA for not applicable, ALMS, alternate literacy, math, and science, grades 3 through 10, AELP for the alternate English language proficiency, that's only grades K through 2nd, or grades 11 through 12. And lastly, there's both the alternate English language proficiency and the alternate literacy, math, and science for grades 3 through 10 only. Remember that you are indicating the student's assessment for the fiscal year and that all alternate assessment fields are reset to NA at rollover. Here is a list of the educational placement codes in reference as to when the provider LEA, resident LEA, and name of provider should be entered. There are 2 new fields in MySped resource for charter schools. The first is the alternate district, which will automatically come from eSchool, and the second is the prior year LEA. Charters will have to add this into MySped. This part of the presentation will include Cycle 7 referrals for the fiscal year, exits on students between ages 14 through 21, all CEIS data, and discipline, which are reports that are obtained from student management. All new referrals for the fiscal year are reported. The fiscal year begins on July 1 of the fall semester and ends June 30th of the spring semester. Make sure that all dates are sequential and in chronological order, meeting the required timelines. Remember that you have 60 calendar days from the day the parent gives consent to complete the evaluation, and that the evaluation date is the date the last test is given. In addition, you have 30 calendar days from the evaluation date to the eligibility determination date or the evaluation conference. Remember that those days are calendar days rather than business days, meaning that weekends and holidays count as a part of the 60 and 30-day time frames. Also, be aware of those months that contain 31 days because you may become out of timelines by 1 day or two. In reporting all new referrals for the fiscal year, some clarification is needed as to what constitutes a student being added into referral tracking. All referrals being entered should be recorded in the fiscal year they were started in. It is important to remember that even if the student is not placed for services or if the decision at the referral conference is not to test, the referral should be reported regardless of the outcome. However, a student is not entered into referral tracking if they currently have an IEP and are receiving services. So students who are receiving services but need additional testing are not considered a new referral. Students who come from another school district with an IEP are transfer students and also are not placed into referral tracking. The following fields are pulled from demographics for referral tracking. Under SMS, the Social Security number, grade, name, birth date, gender, ELL, race, and building code. Under the referral module, the resident LEA, if the student attends a private school, and the name of the private school. From the referral tracking module, the following fields are pulled: referral date, parental consent date, any other evaluations dates, eval reasons for missing the 60-day timeline, the eligibility determination date, EDD reason for missing the 30-day timeline, special ed placement, yes or no, the parental placement of consent, coordinated early intervening services, please specify yes or no, the reason the referral is complete, and if the referral is complete, please specify yes or no. Here are the codes and reasons that are used for exceeding the 60 and 30-day timelines. Be aware that the use of the code EV is indicating your program is responsible for delaying the referral and may result in an automatic hit for being out of compliance. If one of these codes are not appropriate, there is an option for OT, which is other, where you can then write the reason the referral is past timelines. However, there are some reasons that you will also be found out of compliance for. Those are holidays, an examiner, maternity leave. These are all not valid reasons because they are known conditions when the referral was started. Arrangements should be made in these situations to make sure the referral is not out of compliance. Summer vacation is also not a valid reason because there is no exception for delaying a referral once it has been made. Waiting on a doctor's report is also not a valid reason if the report is from a hearing or vision issue, since there is already a code for that reason. If it is because of a different kind of doctor, please indicate that when writing in the other reason. Be sure to use the codes available rather than using the other option when the codes available are appropriate. These are the fields pulled as a part of the exits for Cycle 7 for student ages 14 through 21. Remember, students over the age of 18 who are staying until they are 21 need to be changed to a non-graded status. These are the fields that are pulled from demographics. And these also are the following fields that are pulled from the School Age module: the student's name, social, unique identifier, birth date, building, gender, race, federal race code, grade level, ELL, charter school, primary disability, educational placement, exit date, reason for exit date, educational placement of the previous year. Demographic fields pulled for CEIS include, under SMS, social security number, grade, name, birth date, gender, ELL, and under the CEIS module, resident LEA, start date, end date, entry reason, and withdrawal reason, services that are being provided, as well as the services begin and end dates. Also, please be aware of the order in which you need to exit students. Please put the withdrawal dates into the service type screen first, then put in a withdrawal date and code in the general information screen. Additionally, there is no warning if you enter withdrawal information without withdrawing students from the service types, which can result in multiple errors. So please be sure to complete both screens in order to avoid those errors. Discipline information comes from student management as it is a part of the discipline recorded on all students. Students must be in special education when the incident or incidents occur. Verify correct coding for in-school suspension and the number of days, out-of-school suspension and the number of days, expulsion codes, ALE, it must be placed and not referred. Remember, there is a difference between a student who is expelled from the district and expelled from the campus. This half of the presentation will cover Cycle 7 review for the school-age students. All data for Cycle 7, including referral tracking, exits, CEIS data, and discipline data, must be submitted by June 15th. You will then have the month of September to review what has been pulled for Cycle 7 in the MySped resource application, accessible through the special education website. There is a procedures manual, mostly in bullet format, to aid you in making sure you have reviewed all areas and addressed all errors. Please take advantage of the opportunity to review your data for the following reasons. You want to make sure that everything you have submitted has been submitted and pulled correctly. You want to check for typos, number reversals, all dates, code, and fields that are correct and have transferred correctly. You have the opportunity to update records or add data that should be reported as a part of Cycle 7 since the submission date of June 15th during the review periods in the month of September. Please remember, these are multiple computer programs and applications. For this reason alone, you should check to make sure that no issues have occurred with data submission. Be sure to check all error reports, even those that may not apply to your district, including early childhood and coordinated early intervening services. Sometimes correcting one error will result in another error being rebuilt. Therefore, be sure to recheck all error reports until all errors are clear. Be sure that all student exits are entered correctly. All 12th graders must be accounted for in some way, either by entering them that they graduated, which should match what is entered in demographics, or by having them marked as non-graded in the grade field in demographics. Verify students coded as dropouts and review the error reports and other reports available to you in MySped. And again, the error reports in MySped application do not address every field of data that needs to be accurate, but only the fields needed at this time for federal reporting. Remember that the discipline data comes from student management and is the same data for all students. Make sure that the correct action codes are present and that suspensions contain the correct number of days. Students indicated as being an ALE placement must be actually placed and not just referred by ALE placement. Verify expulsion, which means that the student is expelled from the district and does not constitute a change in special ed placement due to not being allowed in a specific building on campus. Therefore, verify the status of services for expelled students and check for changes in placement. Again, be sure to view and review the error reports in MySped for discipline, but do not solely rely on those error reports for verifying that all discipline data is accurate. Districts should only report CEIS data if 6B funding has been set aside, up to 15% for CEIS. Be sure screens have been completed in that proper order. The general information screen, including the entry withdrawal screen, prior to entering information on the service types screen. Be sure that these service types have been entered with entry dates. If exiting students from CEIS, be sure that exit dates are put into the service type screen prior to withdrawing the student from the general information screen. Be sure to also check the error reports for CEIS data, but do not rely solely on those reports, for all of your CES data is accurate. You should check CEIS error reports as well as all other error reports, and if there are students present that should not be there, they should be removed. Here are some common errors and other things you need to be aware of as you enter your data and review your data for submission. Be aware that when the pool is made for submission, if there are errors in your data, you will be required to correct those errors before the pool can be submitted. If your cycle submission person makes you aware of your errors, then you must correct them prior to submitting. Be sure to inform the cycle submission person that the pool must be rebuilt prior to submission. Be sure to check all Social Security numbers and match them against the Social Security cards to avoid errors. If you have students who did not return for the fiscal year, the withdrawal date needs to be the last day of school term, rather than having an exit date during the school term. Remember, those areas that are commonly contain errors such as birth dates, socials, and referrals, they need to be closed out and have a reason for referrals being completed. If you do not have an SLP, an OT, or a PT who are district employees, then you should have a contract one with the district defined information completed with an FTE of 1 to show that you have such individuals contracted, should the district need their services. Also, be sure that you are using the appropriate exit codes, as all exit codes present in each withdrawal drop-down menu. Finally, joining the eSchool, TAC, or HAC portal may be helpful for following errors and questions and also other issues submitted by peers who also work on eSchool. Here are some common errors and other things you need to be aware of as you enter your data and review your data for submission. Be aware that when the pool is made for submission, if there are errors in your data, you will be required to correct those errors before the pool can be submitted. If your cycle submission person makes you aware of your errors, then you must correct them prior to submitting. Be sure to inform the cycle submission person that the pool must be rebuilt prior to submission. Be sure to check all Social Security numbers and match them against the Social Security cards to avoid errors. If you have students who did not return for the fiscal year, the withdrawal date needs to be the last day of school term, rather than having an exit date during the school term. Remember, those areas that are commonly contain errors such as birth dates, socials, and referrals, they need to be closed out and have a reason for referrals being completed. If you do not have an SLP, an OT, or a PT who are district employees, then you should have a contract one with the district defined information completed with an FTE of 1 to show that you have such individuals contracted, should the district need their services. Also, be sure that you are using the appropriate exit codes, as all exit codes present in each withdrawal drop-down menu. Finally, joining the eSchool, TAC, or HAC portal may be helpful for following errors and questions and also other issues submitted by peers who also work on eSchool.